to my gathering basket. My name is Danelle. Thank you for joining me on what is, at least in Southwest Missouri, a gorgeous Easter Sunday. I hope if you celebrate that this has been a wonderful, meaningful day for you. It has been for me and my family. And I've got a lot of fun things to share with you from the last couple weeks. It's been kind of busy. So I'll start off like I usually do with spinning. I finished a skein of yarn. This is for the Shave 'em to Save 'em initiative from the Livestock Conservancy that I have been talking about over and over, episode after episode. And I finally have my first skein to show you. This is Dorset horn, which I have never spun before. I got the roving from Covered Bridge Farms. This was, and I know I showed you before, and I don't have a good lock of it to show you, but it is a bicolor. So it was a striped roving with this natural cream and then the darker brown, and I just spun it as it came. I didn't really do, I didn't do any kind of color management in that roving. So I really like the way that it came out, this kind of almost tweedy heathered look. I'm thinking a hat. I was hoping to have it on the needles, and I just got distracted with other things this past couple weeks. I just finished this 2 days ago, I believe, and yesterday I got it washed, set, and we had a beautiful sunny day here with a little bit of wind, and so I set it outside to dry and dried in record time, and I was able to get it skeined up. So there is my first project for Shave 'em to Save 'em. I have a couple more rovings available to me to pick from, but I'm kind of thinking, oh, and I was going to show you, I don't remember what I've showed you before, but this is the passport for the program, and here is my page from Covered Bridge with the Dorset horn. So you can see each page has a little bit of information about the breed, and then these are the official passport stickers, and then this is the information I'll need to fill in yet now that I have my project done. So kind of a fun little challenge. I'm not sure which one will be next for me. I have Gulf Coast Native that I am working on. It was actually some raw fleece, and I'll tell you more about that later when I actually get started working on it. But I am starting to process that. And then I have some Jacob in a couple different colors, natural colors, and the Florida Cracker. So I'm pacing myself kind of slowly. That project took way longer. It's 4 ounces. Took much longer than it should have for me. But that's kind of the way my spinning goes. It goes in spurts. So I think I need some color next. So I picked, this is a skein. This is roving, a braid that I got. This comes from Greenwood Fiberworks. Their colors are always so pretty. I love this teal. Can you tell? This is 50% yak and 50% silk. So I have one end of it open, and it's in these steely silver and then just different shades of that teal throughout. There's a good example of the colors in this braid. So I've actually tried spinning this a couple times and just didn't have the right setup or tension or something. It just never was an easy spin. So I think I was going to do this on a spindle, and it was just slick enough. I don't know, I used the wrong spindle, but I could tell very quick that was not, didn't have the right technique. So I think I'm going to take a break from the natural colored and a little bit more rustic wool. That Dorset horn was beautiful to spin. I don't mean to, it's got just a little bit of prickly to it maybe. I was actually very surprised when it was all washed up. It's much softer than I anticipated. So I'm not sure that it would necessarily be the best next to skin for some people. I think I'll be fine with it. Again, I'm thinking hat is probably the case, although it would make very pretty mittens. So I have not added up the yardage yet. I don't know why I always procrastinate. I know that I had 199 wraps on my Nitty Knotty when I finished scanning it up on the Nitty Knotty fresh off the wheel. But I have not, and my Nitty Knotty is 1 3/4 yards in a full wrap. So I know how much I started with, but I have not remeasured that skein since I washed it and dried it. So I know there's going to be some shrinkage there, and I'm just not exactly sure how much. So as soon as I get that figured out, then I can actually start looking at patterns and matching it up with a potential pattern. So hopefully that will be a project. I'm kind of challenging myself a little bit beyond. For Shave 'em to Save 'em, spinning a skein of yarn qualifies as a finished project. So I do have a finished project for the initiative, but I've kind of challenged myself to use them because spinning it tells you a lot about the fiber, but I really want to try using it, and I hope to do some knitting, some crochet, and I'd like to do some weaving too at some point during all this. So I'm kind of pushing myself to call for me to, this is step 1 in a finished project, but for my sake, not Livestock Conservancy's sake, just if you are in this, I don't want to scare anybody by saying you have to spin and finish a project with that yarn. But that's just kind of my own little rules there. So I'll probably break them at some point, but I'm really, really wanting to see. I just think you learn so much more about your spinning, but also about the wool. Because sometimes, even from commercial yarns, I'm sure you've found at some point that the way something knits up is very different sometimes from what you anticipated. So that's my project coming up soon, I hope. But meanwhile, I have this yak silk that is just so soft and silky, and it's going to be a very, very different, not only color-wise, but also how I draft it, how it spins, just having that very slick fiber in my fingers. So I'm looking forward to it. I've done a little bit of silk spinning. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how this turns out. Again, I haven't opened up the whole braid, so I'm not entirely certain how this is going to look when I get it all. I will probably go ahead and braid the whole thing and start stripping it down a little bit. I'm not sure exactly what spinning technique. I'm thinking a 2-ply lace to fingering. I think this would be a beautiful shawl. So that's going to be next on my wheel, maybe even this evening, we'll see. So another reason that I wanted to work on that yak silk blend is because I had high hopes of being able to enter it in this year's Missouri State Fair. So I went ahead and looked at their website. I wasn't sure how soon they put out their categories for the contest for this year. So I went ahead and looked this weekend and printed off 5 pages of their guidelines, their registration information, all of the categories that are going to be judged, what times they're going to be judged, all the information for the fair this year. I really was surprised it was already available. But we have 3 months. July 19th, I believe, is the day that all the registrations have to be in. So you can't just show up at the fair with your things to enter. You have to well, it's 2 weeks before the fair. You have to have everything. You fill out like an application for each item that you want to enter, and then they send you entry tags, and that has to be put on the item when you actually take it into the fair. So it's a bit of a process. We have a local fair, and literally you just show up with everything, and they find a class for you to enter things in, and it's just really simple and quick. But there's not a lot of entries in it either. So where they have at the Missouri State Fair, way more people, way more categories. So it needs a little bit more organization. So I have been for the last 2 months thinking, I need to get started on this. I need to get started on this. I'm going to be mad at myself. And so finally this weekend I got all the information, and now I need to sit down and actually go through with my highlighter and highlight all the different categories that I hope to have something completed. One of those is fine spinning, meaning fine diameter. So I hope that I can get enough of that yak silk put together that I can enter into that little category. if I get the whole thing done, then I might even be able to get something knit out of it that I can enter into the hand spun, hand knit category that our guild is actually sponsoring for this year. And since it's a new category, I'd really like to have an item or two in those subcategories that I can enter just to support that. I don't know, a lot of times people, and I've even said, go to the fair, see the different categories, and then kind of make your plans based on those. You know what kinds of things people enter. And since this is a brand new category, we're actually sponsoring, I think it's 5 different categories between knitting, crochet, weaving, of different ways to use your hand spun, and you're being judged on the finished object, whether it's a hat, a sweater, a rug, a wall hanging, whatever it is. So I had, going into this, I had high hopes of getting something in every category, and well, now I'm hoping for 1 or 2. So we'll see. I'm gonna have to get really busy. So that's the reason why I'm thinking I'm gonna take a break from the natural fiber, or the natural colors and the shave them to save them things, and try to spin up some of my stash. And that's actually something that I bought at Rhinebeck when I went in 2016. So it is time to get that spun. So there's spinning for this week. Last time I introduced you to the story Green Grass Still Waters. And I showed you the little cutie Wolfred that I had crocheted up. This pattern is the main character in the book, and there is a pattern available, and I talked about him more last time. There is a pattern for Wolfred on Ravelry that you can get for the crochet. The knit version is still in testing, so I'll let you know when that pattern comes out. But I had told you that Wolfred actually has a couple friends, April Brown and Dotty Spot, that are Icelandic ewes that have just recently come to live at his farm and are trying to learn the ways of the new shepherd. So I was able to get Wolfred's friends crocheted up, and I'll start. I told you that I was working on Dotty Spot. Dotty is an Icelandic ewe. Can you tell where she gets her name? She's got a spotted coat, the eye patches, and Dotty has this fantastic coat. You can see all the loops. It's just like a fuzzy carpet. Icelandics have fairly long locks on their coat naturally. And Dotty, if you remember me talking last time, has not learned to trust this new shepherd and refuses to be shorn. So Dotty keeps coming up with all these dead things snagging in her coat. And she becomes very proud of her collection of dead things. So in this coat, like in the story, you have the leaves, you've got a stick, and there's all the directions on where to put all these things in the pattern. You've got some little acorns, and these are actually little buttons. But there is also, some of the testers have come up with that could not access these buttons, because there's people all over the world testing these for Kelly. And so some of the ladies in that group have actually crocheted some leaves and acorns and things like that to put in there. And then most of us can come up with a little stick. So this looks very, very much like the Dotty in the book in here. So does a very good job of matching the illustrations in that story. The fun part about Dotty is not only is she really cute in her full loopy dead thing containing coat, but you can shear Dotty. Her coat comes off, and I didn't want to try to get caught. There's actually a little hook and eye at the top of the coat here, so you can secure it, but I knew I wouldn't be able to do that on camera. So there's her coat, and it's made crocheted in one big piece. You can see the spot inside there, which matches up with the spot on her body. And this kind of has a dual purpose. In the book, there's a really cool allegory to what getting rid of the old fleece and the dead things is a great allegory for salvation. And then also, Kelly suggests that if you're doing programs talking to kids, this is a great way to explain the whole process of shearing. So, you know, the whole, you have to kill the animal to get the wool, and all those myths, stories that are just viral every once in a while, it seems like. And if you've done any kind of public demonstration, you inevitably get at least one or two people that come by and say, "Oh, I don't want to use that. I don't want to touch that because that's from a dead animal," and that kind of thing. So this is a great way with kids to show, and adults. Let's be honest. This is a great way to show them, hey, this is taking off. This is just taking off the old hair, basically. And then you have this cute little shorn sheep underneath. So I had a lot of fun putting Dotty together. She is just as sweet as can be, and I love the way the story behind her coat and the collection of dead things, and just I think that's, in any time, I remember as a kid, anytime you have a toy, stuffed animals are great, but when you have something that you can dress them with, a story, you can put that on, take that off. I just think that's really fun if you're going to use this with kids. So there you go. The Dotty Spot pattern is still in testing. I've been part of Kelly's testing group, and I've been having a lot of fun chiming in and out of that as I can. And there may be some other sheep coming down the road. So I will let you know as, oh, and she's got this little top knot too, which is just as fun. I think they did a great job with this pattern. So as soon as all of the bugs are out of this and Kelly has it in the format that she wants it to be, I will let you know when that pattern is available on Ravelry as well. So, and then, oh, I almost forgot. Here's April Brown. So April is also, and it's going to be kind of hard to see, April Brown is another Icelandic ewe that came from the same farm as Dotty Spot. And this one does not have the coat on it, but she has this fun little almost tuxedo look to her, and April is a horned Icelandic sheep. So you have these fun horns, and then the little double colored tail, just a fun, cute little pattern. I thought those horns were just darling. So there's the Icelandics, April Brown, and Dotty Spot. Dotty is coming up, as I said. She should be released in the near future, and April Brown is already available as a pattern on Ravelry for crochet. So I will link to her pattern below, and yeah, if you like to crochet toys, these have been a lot of fun to do. So there's the sheep that I've got so far, and that has consumed pretty much most of my knitting and crocheting time this last couple weeks. So I will put those back here. So that's been the most of what I've gotten done, other than I have my normal sock projects in my purse, that kind of thing. But that's been about what I've been able to do. I am starting on another project, another colorwork project. I told you I am hoping to go down to McKinney Knittery in Texas in a couple, oh my goodness, 4.5 weeks or something like that coming up. And I told you the story about my parents getting me some toco wool from there a couple months ago. And I wanted to make up these songbird mittens, and I thought, and I really wanted to be able to have it done and take down there with me. So I have been itching to get this started, and I got this far. It's a swatch. What I like to do with mittens is make the thumb, because the thumb is usually a separate chart on those mittens, and it's just a great way to make a very manageable, I was going to say small, but we'll just go with manageable swatch in the round and practice the pattern. So this is, and I cannot pronounce the names of the colorways, but this blue and then just a natural, real pale tan, kind of a creamy brown. This is the inside, this part of the thumb, and then this is the outside of the thumb. So what I did, this was actually designed in, let me check here. Oh, okay, US 2.75 millimeter needles. I apparently am a fairly loose knitter. So I knew I was going to have to go down just a little, and honestly I couldn't find my long size 2 circulars to be able to do it in magic loop. So I went ahead and did 2 needles. I did, here we go. Okay, so up to here is in a 2.5, and then the rest of it was in a 2.25. So there is definitely a difference. Let's see if I don't know that you can tell, but there is definitely a difference between the top and the bottom. And then to put this on my thumb, there is a definite difference. And I think the reason I'm hemming and hawing is because I'm still trying to decide which gauge I like the best. I have not actually measured it like I should have. I intended to count stitches, but honestly I was going more with fit. So if I put that on my thumb, definitely the small, boy, that's going to be a warm pair of mittens. I can feel the heat already on that. So the smaller gauge definitely still has plenty of room, and I do have small hands, but that definitely has plenty of room in it. I was really afraid that if I like the gauge, I liked working it, I think, better on the larger needles, but look how much room is left. And I'm not sure that I really want to go down another. This is what stopped me before. I've tried this pattern one other time. I made the whole thumb and it was working up so nicely. It was so pretty, but it was a little bit heavier yarn. It was a fingering weight, but it was a 3-ply and just a little bit heavier fingering weight. And that thumb, even after washing and blocking, was so big. And with a smaller hand and colorwork patterns, you can't really, the only way to change the size really is to change the gauge. And I think I'm probably going to go ahead and go with the smaller, the 2.25. Yeah, 2.25. I keep getting those numbers mixed up. But I think I'm going to go with the smaller. I thought about going down one size yet, and I think I could, but I'm not sure it would be a lot of fun to knit at that gauge. That would be awful small stitches. So yeah, I'm just a little, I love the fabric that this is making. That tuku wool is very, let's see if you can see. It's definitely got a lot of fuzz to the yarn. It likes to stick to itself. It's great for color work. I really like the way it has the stitches almost disappear in this. It really makes for a solid looking picture. So I really like the way this, I knew I would. I've seen so many great projects made with this yarn. So I'm excited to get going on it. I'm just not sure how much tinier I want. So I'm still playing, but that's the first step. Got the swatch. I just need to, yeah, decide for sure. But I think I'm going to go with the smaller needles. I think it'll have a better chance of fitting me. The other thing I thought of was going with the larger gauge. This is scary, but I've had some fairly good luck with felting things a little bit, and this would definitely felt. I would have to be super careful, but if it's way too big for me, I may try felting it down just a little bit. That's a thought. It's not my preference, but it's a possibility because I really want these mittens. They are so pretty. And I've been I have been swatching off and on for them in different yarns for several years. So it's time. I really want to get them made, and I just think it would be fun to take it down to the yarn shop and say, hey, you helped a girl in Missouri buy the yarn, and here's what I made with it. So I'm hoping I can get a good start on that and at least have one done. I don't know, but it's a goal. So there's that. And that's really about all I've gotten accomplished. What I'm wearing, you've probably seen this shawl many times. It's been a very popular one. This is the Across the Pond shawl by Mina Phillip. And this was just some yarn, variegated speckled yarn that I had dyed up a few years ago to make this. It's a fun little, almost a smocked pattern. And then the bottom is the same yarn, just in a natural undyed. So I made this a couple years ago, and it's a nice long, let's see if I can stand up. Yep, nice long shawl. It's a great size for just kind of keeping your shoulders warm. I wear it to church a lot. I really like it. And my shawl pin today is a my other secret. I told you about my hair ties, keeping shawls. This is, and it's a clear one. These are those little tiny baby hair clips. This one actually, I think, came with an orchid plant, I believe, and it was holding the flower stem onto a support rod. So yeah, there's a better picture of it. So just those little itty bitty tiny hair clips, and in the clear especially, I can put those, you know how you often have this yarn over edge on shawls, and this is the perfect size to just clip a couple of those yarn overs together. And honestly, because it's clear and it's so little, most people never even see it. So there's my other, I think that's all the shawl tips that I have. But that's my idea there. And it's not heavy, it's not bulky, I'm not hitting it, and I've never had them come off. So, and I have them, they come like in cards. I know I've bought some to use for hair, the actual purposes before, and I have them in a bunch, you know, a card of 10 different colors or something like that. So it's really easy to coordinate one of those with your shawls oftentimes. But the clear works really nice. So anyway, bonus tip if you like it. So that's what I'm wearing today, and yeah, that blue teal seems to be the color of the day for me. So that's the handmade things. I've got several other projects in the pipeline, some things I'm excited to, can't wait to tell you about, but I don't have them yet. So that's where I am with those projects. Homestead wise, oh my goodness. Remember last time I told you that I had chicks ready to hatch, that I would let you know what the results of that hatch was this time. And I was having trouble with my incubator, was not holding temperature correctly. I was having trouble with the humidity. I had unplugged it at one point, and I tried to candle the eggs, and I really wasn't seeing a lot. And I had no confidence in any of those chicks hatching. So last Saturday, I went to work and I told my mom, she lives next door, and I said, you know, that the eggs are supposed to start hatching like today or tomorrow. Today would be the earliest. So if you don't mind, when you're outside, just pop in my house and check on the incubator, you know, see what's going on. So I get this text at work from her at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Oh, and then back up, that morning before I left for work, I was adding the last few days before hatch. Humidity is very important. So a couple times a day I would put some warm water in the bottom of the incubator just to kind of give it some higher humidity, kind of like a little greenhouse. And when I opened up the incubator that morning, I thought, and this was like, it was right around dawn, I took off the lid of the incubator, and I was sure I heard some cheeping. And then it hit me, oh, well, there's birds right out. You know, I was right near a door, and I thought, well, the birds are waking up. They're starting to chirp for the day. But I got all excited because you can, before a chick actually hatches, like the last couple hours before hatch, you can start to hear them cheeping. It's little tiny bird sounds. And so I was all excited, and I was like, oh, shoot, no, it's just a robin that's early this morning. Closed it all up, told mom check on it. You know, I'd gotten all excited, then realized it was just a robin. So 1 o'clock that afternoon, I get this text from my mom saying, I think you really heard chirping. There's one out and 2 more trying to hatch. Oh my goodness, I like told everybody at work, I really have chickens, they're really hatching. So mom says, we didn't think any were gonna hatch. Do you have chick feed? What do you want me to put them in? Normally, by that point in the hatch process, I've got a brooder all set up with warming lights and the chick feed and water, which really chicks don't need to eat and drink for the first like couple days really of their life. That's why you can send chicks through the mail. They actually have enough, they retain the yolk, and that has enough nutrition in it to carry them for up to 3 days. So that's what makes it possible for companies, hatcheries, to ship chicks through the mail. So I knew we were okay that way, but and you can leave them. In fact, it's best to leave them in the incubator for 12-18 hours anyway, so that their feathers get all dried off before you take them out of the incubator. So anyway, I stopped after work and picked up some supplies because it was Saturday night, and I called her and I said, so any more? And I can't remember now. I think we had 5 hatched at that point, which I had 35 eggs, and I was really hoping, I didn't know how many of them were actually fertile. I was hoping that I might get a third, 50% would be good. So then the next day, I checked in the morning, and there were a few more hatched, and there were like 5 or 6 more that had holes in the shells. They were working on getting out. They were really, eggs were rolling, shaking back and forth, and you could see little beaks peeking out. It was so much fun.
Not too much.
I have a little bit of video I'll include at the end of them. So fast forward to the end of Sunday. By Sunday night when I went to bed, I had 28 chicks, all hatched. I don't think I've ever had, that was basically like, you might as well say 80%. We were floored. I did not have a big enough brooder. I had to tape some boxes together and make a big brooder after about 2 days. So the chicks are a week old. They are all healthy so far. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with 28 chicks. I did not expect that. So right now I am collecting eggs for a friend of mine that wants to hatch a new group of chickens for herself. And I will probably, well, I am trying to sell a bunch of these. I know if nothing else, my brother would like some new chicks for his flock. So I may take some down when we go in May. And I have a couple other friends that are possibly interested, thinking about it, and I've got them advertised. I'd like to, if possible, I'd really actually like to sell these and then start a new clutch in the incubator again, because that was a lot of fun. Stressful, but fun. So I am still shocked that we had that many. I've talked to several of my friends and relatives that do hatching, and they were all floored too. Especially with the ratio, like I said last time, of one rooster to 11 hens. And actually we only had, I think it was, 7 eggs that did not hatch, which there's usually some, and all of those were fertilized. They just didn't have healthy birds in them. So anyway, so right now I have 28 chicks in a 6-foot cardboard box in my spare bedroom that are, well, I'm wearing earplugs at night to sleep. They are fun. They have been really good. Like I said, they're all looking very healthy. Very happy with that. So makes me definitely feel like a little homestead to have chicks. Somebody put on one of the homestead groups that I'm in, put a discussion starter on Facebook saying, how many, raise your hand if you have potting soil and livestock in your dining room. So I said, well, I have freshly hatched chicks and potting soil in my kitchen. Does that count? And it was so funny how many people did say that they had some form of livestock and dirt in one of the main rooms of their house. So I guess that qualifies me as a homesteader. The other thing that I got right at the same time, totally not intentionally, to pile these projects up, is for those of you that have commented on my vermicomposting, my worms, I got a new shipment of worms. So in the process of running a compost pile, having chickens, starting worm composting bins, it's made me realize just how much trash I discard. And I've got places for all of my food waste for sure. The chickens love it, or it goes in the compost pile. And then when I started worm farming, so to speak, I realized how much I started shredding any kind of paper that I could to use as worm bedding. So what I have right now are red wiggler worms, and those are great. I really like them. They go through the compost very quickly, very efficiently. But I had been hearing a lot about African night crawlers and how well they like nitrogen, and that they can just bust through lots of cardboard shreds. So a while back, I got myself a new shredder to shred worm bedding. And actually, this one will shred small boxes, like your Amazon boxes, that kind of thing. Not a heavy gauge cardboard, but a little bit thinner. So I've been putting all of my cardboard waste through that, and actually I used that for bedding for the chicks. That was kind of cool. I didn't have to go buy wood shavings. I could produce, and they worked really well for a few days especially. So I've been shredding all of the cardboard I can, and just realized how much of it I had. And the red wigglers don't go through that type of waste as fast as food scraps. They prefer the food scraps. So I'd been debating for quite a while, and I had this worm bin all made up. So I went ahead and ordered a pound of the African night crawlers to see if I could recycle cardboard waste a little bit faster. So they showed up. Let's see, the chicks hatched on Sunday, and so it was basically Monday I was getting them out of the incubator and into their own tubs and all that. And the next day, Tuesday, my African night crawlers showed up. So I had a lot to manage there at first. So I got those all, I had the bin all ready. I had the cardboard shreds, and I think I took worm castings from my other bin to work into there, just to have some bacterial life starting to decompose all of that. And you just want to have that bin going. I had some coffee grounds, some eggshell ground up, and then added some water, got it all moist, took it outside for a day because it was nice and warm, got it nice and warm for them. Put the African night crawlers in, got them all covered up, everything was good. I had nice ventilation holes in there, all screened. Put them in the spare bedroom where I was putting the chicks, and about an hour later I went to check on the chicks, and there were worms all over my floor. So African night crawlers are known to be explorers. They do tend to escape, and yeah, they lived up to their reputation. So there I was, crawling around, picking up all my worms off the floor and getting them back in the bin. Thought I had everything. You can actually leave the cover off and put light on them. They don't like light. That will help keep them down. We were also getting a storm that night, which didn't help because the barometric pressure was just like everything was out of my favor on this. So it was a long day trying to get the chicks settled, and because they were starting to get rowdy. I was putting them in a new brooder that day, getting them out of the small one into a larger one, and then trying to deal with my worms. I ended up having to put a clip-on light on my worm bin, and it's still on my worm bin. I have not had any more escapees. I think I put them, well, that night it was getting really late. I had to get up early for work the next morning. So I actually put the whole bin inside a sheet, and it was like made a gift basket out of my tote. And put him in my bathtub. And the next morning I really wasn't sure what I was going to find, and sure enough, they had all escaped, but they were all in my sheet. So I was able to take the sheet, just shake them all back into the bin, put a light on them for the day, and I have not had any escapees yet. So as far as I've found, I checked on them a couple days ago. I knew this was not a type of worm that was considered easy, not for beginners, but somehow the challenge just intrigued me. So I probably shouldn't have done that, but live and learn, adventures. I think it's going to be good in the end. I just have to learn how to deal with them. And if you are interested in doing vermicomposting as well, start with red wigglers. Be smart. So we'll see how that whole adventure goes. I'm not sure how well I will do with the African night crawlers, but I am learning lots and having fun. So that's about, we planted our sweet corn yesterday. And then when we were talking about it, just as Mom and I were planting, Mom said, you know, I think we planted the Saturday before Easter last year too. So ground was working very nicely. We'd had just a little bit of rain, and we were able to till up and plant our sweet corn. We got our cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, all of that in their row. So, and the peas are starting to grow finally. The potatoes, I said, were in. In a few weeks, we'll start planting beans. So that's the garden report. And then the other thing, I saw, in fact, a couple times I found myself distracted. I've seen monarch butterflies already. I don't remember last year seeing them anywhere this early, but I was cleaning out a flower bed the other day, and it's probably Wednesday or Thursday maybe, and something flew over my shoulder, and sure enough, it was a monarch butterfly. And then just a little bit ago through the window, I saw a couple more in the garden. So there's not really a lot blooming right now for butterflies to be feeding off of, but our peonies are budded up beautifully, which probably means there's going to be, when they get all budded up, that's a storm comes inevitably, it seems like. And actually they have popped, the buds have just shot up in the last 36 hours. So once those are always sweet and have a lot of nectar. So anyway, it is really starting, things are just changing very fast right now, and I'm excited for butterfly season to start, getting ready for possibly some more chicks to hatch, and getting fair. Boy, when you start working on stuff for fair, that just seems like summer is just, that's the end of the summer for us. It's in August. So man, time's gonna start flying fast. So there you have it. There's my adventurous 2 weeks. It's been a lot of fun, a lot of new things, and if I have anything to do with it, there's going to be a lot more new things coming up in the next couple weeks too, because there's a lot of things I want to get done. I've got a quilt almost done. I've got some other quilting projects that I hope to talk about to you soon. I haven't talked about quilting in a while. So I will have more of that, and hopefully some more spinning, knitting, crocheting that I can talk about next time. Thank you so much once again for those of you that come back episode after episode and join me. I appreciate your comments. They're always such an encouragement to me when I see a like or just a comment on something. So thank you so much for that. And those of you that are just now finding me, thank you for stopping in and taking time to chat with me. I hope you have a wonderful couple of weeks until I see you next. Thank you so much, and may your gathering basket overflow with blessings. Bye for now.